Hi, welcome. I've felt inspired, and that's something that has been very hit and miss for me over the past few months, maybe for a year now, on and off through the pregnancy for sure, and definitely since having baby, a change. Now, this is definitely not just for mums, so please don't switch off because you've heard me mention the word baby or pregnancy. This isn't for that. It helps with those things, but this is for the everyday person, not just women either. If I ever speak about being a woman, it's not to to single off or to leave out men. It's just I'm speaking from my experience, and one of my experience happens to be that I'm a woman. So I was having a really tough week last week, and there were several factors. There was a factor that my baby has slept really well throughout, and she hasn't been sleeping well. She's going through a transition. And I've actually learned how patient I am and how patient I'm not, and where that needs to grow, and where it's completely valid to not feel patience in that moment. Just this week alone. And I also had, which I never speak about online, and I think it's because I'm a woman of the past in this way, but I had my period. And when you're breastfeeding, your periods are hit and miss, or no periods at all. But I had one, and it was pretty horrific, and very much changed my hormones and made me feel, and I think still is that stuff is still lingering. So I wanted to add that into the mix, because all of what I want to share and everything I talk about is always about either normalizing or authenticating. Is that a word? Yeah, authenticating things. And then on top of that, I had things happen where I felt people were letting me down. I felt just very unimportant last week, very unimportant last week. And that's the truth. That's my truth. And guys, if you can hear a fan, it's because I got sweat patches and I'm hot. And I really just want to get into more of this, like just being who the fuck we are. I don't do YouTube videos, and it's probably my biggest request from people to do more. And I don't do them because I'm a perfectionist. Like seeing that light has just gone on my face, knowing that I'm looking at myself instead of looking in here, would normally make me want to restart the whole fucking video. And I'm trying to get into an unedited way of life, because Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of these things are creating us to think that we have to edit our life. We have to edit out mistakes. Now, there's nothing wrong with something looking sleek, but this is not a film. I'm not trying to put this into a festival of any kind. I am not trying to win a prize for perfection awards. I'm just trying to get my message out. So why does it matter if I share that I was on my period, or the fan is on, or the light exposure is too much, or whatever? So I wanted to come on and just be really authentic, and that's what I'm going to try my hardest, and try being the operative word. That's my new thing this week, is I'm just trying at everything that I possibly feel I need to and want to be a part of right now. And I want to be part of the change, in whatever needs to change in life for others and myself, because this is a transitional time. We can't say it isn't when we have something like climate change happen. We can't say it isn't when we've got just horrific things happening across the world, as well as great things happening across the world. Change is real. So my topic isn't actually change, but I just thought I'd share that. So my topic is based on fear. Fucking fear. And I know a lot of people talk about fear, and I know a lot of it's like, oh, that's all good in hindsight, but I want to talk about that raw fear. And I'm gonna be posting on my page every time I conquer a fear, or every time I am embracing a fear. So this morning I put up me singing. It's literally 30 seconds of me singing. But since I haven't been in a musical or been in a show or been in a TV program or anything for so many years, I now have a fear of singing publicly. Something I used to do for a living, something that I absolutely adore, and it actually would pain me to never sing again. Yet I'm like, well, you haven't sang publicly, and I don't even know how many years, and I don't even want to know how many years it is, because it actually upsets me. So I put that up this morning, because even if I don't get a reply to it, which, let's face it, that's why we put these things on Instagram, right? To either inspire or validate ourselves, or inspire others. Now, I think the authenticity that I'm trying to share is that even if the majority of the time, I am someone, I know the majority of the time, I don't really care for validation. But that doesn't mean I'm exempt from it. I do care about validation, and this goes on to kind of where I'm going. And this has always happened in, I suppose, the love relationships that I had, or have had. And that stuff is common, you know, and I know that a lot of people will relate to that stuff. So I wanted to just share some stuff. I, this morning, decided to, instead of listening to music, I did listen to music eventually. My new sort of routine, for however long it lasts, I don't know, but my new routine is to listen to motivational speaking in the morning. And I did this by accident not that long ago, a couple of weeks back, and I've kind of stuck to it. And I put it on this morning, and truth be told, you know, everything you're waiting to hear is there. And the two I put on was both, they were Oprah's Soulful Sunday, and she was talking about her relationship. There were two that I listened to, and they were both about Maya Angelou. And I've always really been inspired by Maya Angelou, but I haven't really read all her books or anything. I just really resonate with her soul and her spirit. Even when she was alive, I just resonate with it, but not enough to like necessarily like become a fan. It was something about her essence, and I used to like listen to her speak. So I'd watch a lot of her stuff on YouTube rather than read what she has. And what I have read of hers is phenomenal. It's amazing. But I've really been into her since somebody actually gave me her poem. A guy that was too nice for me to date at the time, and I was too troubled in order to see him. But anyway, that person was a nice person, and he gave me Still I Rise poem. And from then I've just been like, oh, this woman. But like I said, it was always her spirit. I could feel her energy and her poetry. So anyway, I put on the Oprah talking about her relationship with Maya Angelou, being that she was blessed enough to almost become like a surrogate daughter to her. And the two phrases, which I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, so sorry if I quote them wrong, then sue me. No, don't, but yeah, you can. But is, what was the first, let me just remember what the first podcast was that I listened to. I have my phone. I don't need to struggle. Why struggle when you have baby brain, when you can just go back to your history of what you was listening to? Okay, 1 second, guys. See, this is raw and authentic. This is the real shit. This is the shit. I'm not editing this out. Because why do we do that? Why are we got so caught up in doing that? So here it is. It was, where are you? Way. Oh. Okay, 1 second, guys. Okay, best advice, yes. Okay, yeah, remembered. So the best advice that Oprah said that she had ever got from Maya was that, sorry, Miss Angelou, I'm going to say Maya, Miss Angelou, because she's in heaven, but I don't know her, so I know she'd want me to call her Miss Angelou. So Miss Angelou, Maya Angelou, said to her that, you know, she was mad about something, about past relationships. She's like, why are you mad at them? You know, that person told you who they were, or showed you who they were. And this is something that I've known, and I've actually been given that advice by somebody who I've had a struggle of letting go. And that piece of advice that she gave is so true, because it is the truth. Like, people show you who they are. And then she was like, if people tell you who they are and you don't listen, they're going to do everything in their power to convince you, even if it's a subconscious thing, they're going to try and convince you to listen when they say who they are, right? And I was like, whoa, that's deepened it, because I've known that saying before, but I was like, okay, that's very, very true. Because every person that I have seen past this telling me who they are, I'm like, no, you are this, you are, like, I see this, this and this in you though. It's actually disrespectful to that person. It's actually disrespectful to yourself. You're not listening. You're listening, and you're seeing what you want to see. Yeah. And then on the other flip side of that, she was like, if that person has negative traits, they will do everything in your power to peck at you, and then you know, like a little bird, they're going to peck a bit of you away, because they're going to want you to know, this is who I am. So if you have someone in your life who is always confused, always giving you confusing energy, their message is, I am confusing. It's your job then to be like, do I want to be with someone who is confusing? Then on the extra part is like, you know, that is taking a little piece of your energy away. And that is why sometimes when we're around people, we feel exhausted or drained or left uncertain, because we are investing into something that actually isn't there. So that was the first thing I heard this morning. It was like to the chest. Then I heard the second thing, and it was again, baby brain, so apologies. The next one was, when you know better, you do better. Now this is cliche, this one, because we've been saying this, you've probably heard this millions of times, but when you know better, you actually fucking do better. And there are two things that I want to share with this, and the reason I bang on about therapy or go on about getting healing or alternative healing, but definitely someone to talk to about your history, your past, what you've been through, your trauma, your pain, whatever it is you are holding in your life that needs to be expressed to someone other than your friends, because friends are going to be biased. Even if you've got a really good friend who checkmates you, they're still your friend. They're not your therapist. Yeah, your friend is there to honor what you share when you are coming up with the solutions. Your friend's allowed to be silent on you if you're not feeding into that solution. So remember that. So that goes back to, if you keep repeating your patterns and expecting a different outcome, it's okay if your friend says, look, I'm not giving advice anymore, or look, this is your pattern repeating, but you don't want to hear it, you know, whatever. So anyway, moving on from friends, back to the therapist kind of stuff. So when you know better, you do better. Now, with therapy, you might come across and might learn that there's a hardwiring. That's where I'm at in my stage of my therapy. There are things that are hardwired into my brain of belief. And there is a piece of the circuit that's either broken, missing, however you want to view it, that needs to be rebuilt. And in doing rebuilding, you have to face a lot of your stuff. You have to be very honest, very authentic. You have to break cycles and break patterns. So my thing is I'm not the greatest communicator when it comes to matters of my heart, out of fearing that my love is not going to be received well. I'm going to be rejected. Then that can lead to abandonment, which then leads to being bereft, and then leads to feeling like you're dying, and it just, you know, it extreme. So that's my authenticity. That's what I'm sharing with you guys, as that's what happens for me in that situation. That may not be your experience, but this is my experience, okay? So when you're breaking and rebuilding, when you're rebuilding this part of the circuit, this wiring that is just, it doesn't connect, and you're trying to make it connect, it can get really uncomfortable. But it also brings out so much truth, and I promise you it will bring you relief. So this brings me on to what was inspiring me yesterday. And yesterday I watched a public speaking talk by Brene Brown. I don't know much about Brene Brown, so have a little research of her. I only watched it's on Netflix. It's fucking amazing. I don't know what it's called, but it's Brene Brown. Type her name in. It's Brene Brown. And she talks about vulnerability, and her thing is she is a researcher, and she knows everything you need to know really about vulnerability and shame. But she had to do it, she knew it from a, analytical, scientific, doctor kind of approach. She had to learn how to do it from an actual active, being a human, bringing it into her own life approach. So her stuff is key. But she said yesterday, she says to herself every morning, today I'm going to be in the uncomfortable, because I need to be courageous and I need to be brave. I can't say I will be tomorrow, but today that's what I'm going to do. So she does everything in her power to do that. And then in that she says, you need to be in the arena. And she was saying, when people critique you and blah, 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 and say stuff about you, you have to stop caring about the people that say this stuff that aren't in the arena. Now, they don't have to be in the arena fighting you. They're just in their own arena. If they're on the sidelines and they're like one of those hecklers, like, you suck, you're a dick, like, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. But they're not in their own arena. They're just comfortable with their popcorn and they're, that kind of thing. Those people are not of your concern. They don't matter. Anyone who's in their own arena critiquing you, and it hurts, it's not that it's okay that they hurt you, but it's okay because you can say, I see you, and I'm either going to take on board what you're saying or I'm not. Either or, I respect where you're coming from. I respect you because we are mirroring in a healthy way, or I respect your place of where you're coming from. So we have stuff like projection. People project on each other. We're all guilty of it. I know I am. But it's your job and your role to realize, am I heckling right now? Am I someone in the crowd, or am I in my own arena? So yeah, from that space I have been working, and that's, then that comes into that, when you know better, you do better. So you can apply those things. You can step into the arena, even if your circuit, this circuit that I've expressed about the hardwiring not being completely connecting. That doesn't mean you're broken. Yeah. And another quote that came from a woman called Chris. Wait, hang on. I have to remember this one because she's a woman who has cancer and she's surviving. Anyway, she said something on the Oprah Super Soul Sunday. Chris Carr, her name is. So Chris with a K, K-R-I-S, and then Carr, K-A-R-R. And she says how to have a sexy, I think it's sexy, crazy something life. And at the end of her thing, she said something really that hit home, which was, I wrote it down so that I could make sure I said it right. I don't need fixing, I need loving. Accepting yourself is about respecting yourself, honoring who you are today, not who we are going to be. Seeking from lack or deficiency only causes more suffering. So that was all about acceptance. So I don't need fixing, I need loving. And that's what I want you to think about this circuit that might have a hard wiring. So for instance, part of my hard wiring is that when it comes to love in a romantic sense, I am accepting of the bare minimum because I received the bare minimum in my childhood. Therefore, I don't understand or recognize people having to evolve or people having to meet me at a certain standard in order to have my love. Not for me to be loving, because that's just who I naturally am, but for me to have boundaries, for me to have standards in how I'm treated, in order to receive that part of me that takes a lot of trust. I can be too trusting too fast, but knowing that what the outcome is pretty much going to be. So that's something that's not connecting. That doesn't mean I'm broken. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's something that has to change, and it's something that needs more connecting, something that needs we could say it needs fixing, in the sense of a new wiring needs to happen, but it doesn't mean I'm broken as a person. I have had things happen to me that have caused that wiring to happen. So I hope that doesn't confuse you too much, but I just want to share that, because right now, like, I have butterflies saying this stuff. I have all the ego is speaking is, oh, no one cares, no one wants to know this, you're giving too much of yourself, oh, this what if this person sees it, what if, and it's all there, you know. And it's like, why would I need to share this online? And the reason I share this online, and the reason I'm giving it to you guys, is because there's too much of the other shit. I didn't realize, because I cocoon myself off sometimes into bubbles, and I've been in like my world, which is quite, you know, spiritually induced. We've come to relationship, friendships, actions, everything kind of comes back to my spirit, and I'm proud of that, and I love that. But at the same time, it makes me forget that the rest of the world isn't necessarily having that experience. And watching the Jessie Nelson documentary on BBC Three about cyberbullying and trolling and things like that, and because I haven't received it, I've been trolled once, really badly, racially actually, 2 times that happened, and it was really mean what the person said, but I got past it. Now, would I get past it if it was every day someone was calling me a half chat, if someone was calling me a half breed, someone, like, if I kept receiving the trigger day in, day out, would I be able to cope? Probably not. I think it would be completely normal for the human psyche to have a really intense reaction to that. And I think because I have strength and I have the tools, I forget that some people don't, and I give this work often knowing that on a conscious level, but on a real deep level, I haven't been connecting to that isn't everybody's truth, that they're fully aligned with their spirit. And I say fully aligned, I'm fully aligned to my evolution right now. I'm not obviously fully aligned to the 90-year-old version of myself in her spirit. So I wanted to add in all the insecurities and all the vulnerabilities that I have about putting YouTube videos up, and why. And this video is kind of a bit of a mishmash of like, what is she actually talking about? But what I'm basically talking about is fear. A lot of fear. A lot of fear can come through our experiences in life, but fear actually comes from fear just comes from you know. It's something that exists. It's something that is positive as well. Without fear, you won't be able to face failure. So going back to Brene Brown, that's what she talks about. That's what the showing up in the arena is not I might fail, not I could fail. It's acknowledging I am going to fail. And that's okay. And I've always said that, and I've always been a person, and I believe that I'm a person of bravery. I do. But recently, I've not been in those shoes. I've not felt like that person. There's been a lot that's happened to me in a year that I'm changing, healing from, trying to express, trying to communicate. Just a lot going on that has made me kind of fall into shoes that I actually don't feel very comfortable in. They actually feel very small and tight and very uncomfortable. And I think as well, there's parts of fear that exist of us being who we were. I definitely have had that, you know, loving who you were. And I've married parts of myself in my past. I've done a lot of work of accepting who I was, but she's still that person. I still have more, I'd say, shame or more concern for returning to over admiration and care for. But actually, when I get into my thoughts and my heart about this stuff, I understand that person that I was a fucking fighter, and she's admirable, and she still exists. And I want to share that part because I never allowed myself in the past to not express what I felt to anyone. I was very ballsy with how I expressed things. I would always share if I was in love with someone. I would always share, even if I knew they didn't love me back. I've done that several times. And I've done it to people that now when I look back, I'm like, oh, Amber, you didn't love them. Like, you didn't. I had love for them, but I didn't love them. But I don't regret doing that because it definitely honored who I am. And now I have an understanding that I stopped being that girl. I stopped being that woman out of just being bashed down, because people do shitty things. It's not, what we allow, and this is nothing Oprah saying, what we allow is very much, we've got to be accountable. And it was one point where I was like, I actually was disagreeing with Oprah, because that's really healthy. You can't just agree with everything someone says, but sometimes you will, but sometimes you just won't. And I didn't agree with that. She was using words like fault and stuff. Now, I don't agree with that because people can just be shitty people, and you can be at the receiving end of someone's shitty decisions, shitty action. What I do agree with what she said in that is that there are always signs, and this comes back to people show you who they are, people tell you who you are. So it's not that you're at fault, because it comes back to the hardwiring, it comes back to your understanding of receiving love, because all of this is based in love or fear. Whatever you want from someone, you either want love from them, or you mainly want love from them, but you may receive it at the opposite because all you're focusing on is the fear. Or you're ignoring the telltale signs that this person can't give you that. So she says we see what we want to see, and I really believe that, but that's not something that needs to be seen as a fault. It needs to be seen as something that needs to change. And you might think, well, what's the difference? Fault comes with a lot of blame, a lot of shame, a lot of negativity that makes you feel like you are less than, that you're not enough, and that you're stupid, and you don't want to feed into more of that. You've been feeling that. Why continue feeling that? You have to feel empowered. So I give you that those are changes that need to happen. You no longer want to allow those things. You no longer want to be a part of those things. So yeah, I just wanted to share that if you're in a state of fear right now, if you are at the edge of your seat with feeling anxious, or you need to communicate with someone, for instance, and you're scared, I just saw a bus go past and Renee Zellweger is playing Judy Garland. I'm actually kind of happy about that because I do like Renee Zellweger's voice from Roxy Hart. Sorry, that was just a complete Judy Garland as well is like my favorite impression to do. I got given that compliment when I was a kid, and it stuck with me that I sounded a bit like Judy Garland. I love Judy Garland. If you don't know who Judy Garland is, she is Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Anyway, back to the topic in hand. So if you I want to make sure I stay on the train of thought. If you're someone who's on the edge of your seat in your fear, you've got to that point where you're like, I know I've got to do something, I don't know how to do it, I'm scared. You've got to fucking do it. You have to do it even though you're scared. You've got to be brave. I've done so much of this over the last few weeks, like literally having conversations with so many people that some of the stuff I've been waiting to say has been years long. That's not healthy. And the reason I think I had to listen to Chris Carr is because she's talking about stress management as well, and cancer and all these things. And as much as food and all those things that we kind of maybe can't get away from, like the air, create and cause cancer, stress feeds that fucker. Feeds it. And my thing is like, why would I want to be unhealthy in my mind? Why would we want to carry all this stuff, all these things we think someone feels towards us, all these things these people might? Why be in the what if? Why do that? And just wanted you guys to know that I'm here for it. I'm here to go through it with you. I am most definitely scared with you, but I'm a healer and I'm getting healing, and I think you can do both at the same time. At once upon in my life I didn't believe in that, because I thought that it's you choosing to have more trauma around you. I think as long as you have healthy boundaries, you can heal and be healed. But if you're not someone who has to have which I'll be honest, the gift and the curse of being a healer, and you just have to heal yourself, oh my gosh, run with it. Like, just run with it, because honestly, we got to stop wanting to be who we think we're going to become. We need to just be them now. And the way I feel like I am her, this person that I have been inspired to be, this person I've seen in myself that I could be for my whole entire life, I've done this in phases where I'm standing as her, and I forget as much as you do. And there's a quote from The Secret, and it's not from The Secret, it's somebody else, and it's remember to remember. And I constantly am in that state of remembering to remember. So remembering to remember who the fuck you are, remembering to remember to study, to go back to your books, remembering to remember to listen to podcasts that make you feel inspired, remembering to remember to listen to music that uplifts you, remembering to meditate, remembering to have that conversation, remembering to face those fears. Those things there, not just those, the list is endless, by the way. That's just like a toe in the water. Doing that for yourself is really and truly how you face fears, how you get to the underbelly of your life, how you get into that. Don't be scared of it to the point that you're stuck, because you then have to start listening to your body. My tummy right now is spinning the fucking shit out of my life, and that's good. That's adrenaline. That's fear, but I'm using it and I'm channeling it, and that's why I'm sharing, because I don't think this stuff is just to be internalized. This, I don't have to tell you the inside outs of my life. This is what I'm talking about, boundaries. I don't have to say what my trauma is and hope that someone connects with what my trauma is, like the details. I'm just someone who has trauma. I'm just someone who's working through trauma. I'm someone who's also let go of a lot of trauma. But identification to trauma can also be a massive fear to face. So whatever your fear is, whether you've got loads, you've got one, or you're not sure if what it is, just go into the arena. I can't say how inspired I am by that woman Brene Brown for that commentary, because I am someone who believes in that and has done that many times in my life, but forgot to remember. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I will do more. I want them to be based in authenticity, so I'm never going to give you like set times or dates. I'm not doing that with anything anymore. We need to be authentic in our life, but we can still be consistent even though we don't give people the exact times and dates. I want to be a part of the change, and the change is us being authentic, and not everything runs smoothly every week, especially when you got a baba. So yeah, sending lots of love to you. Mwah. Thank you for listening.